Hey there, science fans, and welcome to another PS Science at Home video. I'm Miss Oyanoki, and I have some new friends. Sorry, buddy. They're really appealing. Get it? Appealing? So why do I have these apples? I was noticing that they really do sell a lot of varieties of apples. Have you ever walked through the apple aisle and seen all of the apples? When I was a kid, there was only one apple. Well, I'm kidding. But there weren't as many as there are now. Even this year alone, they came out with a new kind of apple called the Cosmic Crisp. And all apples are different. They come in a variety of flavors and textures. Let me see if I can put these in the right order. So, for example, you have the Grannie Smith apple, crispier and a little bit more tart. You've got the Red Delicious, softer and a little bit sweeter. And then there's always apples in between, like this is a Honey Crisp. Not as crisp as a green apple, but not as soft as a red apple, not as tart as a green apple, but not as sweet as a red apple either. I like to call this the Goldilocks apple. Just right, at least for me. But I guess there's really no perfect apple, is there? Because everybody has different tastes in apples. Some people might like the red apple, some people might like the green apple, and some people like the in-betweeners. But where did all these apples come from? The flavor, texture, and even color of these apples are all traits that they have. Traits are something that describe you, like a physical trait or a character trait. A physical trait that I have is brown hair and hazel eyes. But a character trait is more like something you can't see, like being shy or loving science. But those traits aren't really passed from generation to generation the way that physical traits are, the ones that you can see. In biologically related families, there are traits passed down from generation to generation, but not everyone looks exactly alike. This is because of genes, not these genes. In our world, there are many kinds of families, and every family is special, even if you're not biologically related. You may have heard that we get certain traits from our parents, such as the color of our eyes or how tall we are. These traits are passed on by genes in our DNA. Half of our DNA comes from our mother and half from our father. Scientists have discovered that genes are inherited in certain patterns. What genes your parents and grandparents have affects what genes you have. This includes genes for hair color, nose shape, and mouth shape. See if you can track some of the traits being passed from grandparent to parent to kid in this family tree. Some traits are dominant and some are recessive. Some genes are more likely to be expressed than others. Each person inherits 2 genes for each trait from their parents. And then some of those genes are more dominant than others. For example, brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes. If someone has a brown eye gene and a blue eye gene, they are more likely to have brown eyes. The blue eye is the recessive gene and the brown eye is the dominant gene. Studying genes and how they are expressed as traits has allowed for crossbreeding of different kinds of apples, or other fruits as well. So all apples started from the same sort of original apple. This is like the kindergarten apple. When they ask you to draw an apple in kindergarten, this is what you draw, red apple. And then over time, by crossbreeding different apples, you can take the traits of one apple, like the sweetness of a red apple, but cross it with another apple, like the crispiness of the green apple, to get some sort of hybrid apple in between. Animals pass traits from generation to generation too. Sometimes, though, a trait stops being passed when it's no longer advantageous. Animals that have certain traits are more likely to pass them because they're the ones that are more likely to survive and have more babies. For example, in the case of the mammoths and the mastodons. Some traits were passed on to the elephant that were advantageous, but others were not. Okay, scientists, thanks for watching. Did you enjoy that lesson? Subscribe below to see more fun science videos. You can also become a member of PS Science on Patreon to support what we're doing. See you next time!